Hello. Hi, everyone, and welcome wherever you are across the globe listening in. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you know, I'm here every single week bringing you information and updates on social impact, justice and mobility. That's where we specialise, and we really do lots of work around DEIB change as well as compassion, as you will already know as a regular listener. So today, I have a very, very special guest for you. He is the head of Global South Wales University Business School, and it is Andy Thompson. So welcome, Andy. I know that you like to be called Andy, don't you?
I do. Only my mother calls me Andrew, I would say.
And then you feel like you've been in trouble.
I know I'm in trouble when that gets mentioned, yes, but it's probably the only person. So I think most people assume it's Andrew, but yeah, I prefer Andy.
Okay, so welcome, Andy. And I just want to say hi to a couple of people. Shimsung, yes, you're in the right place. So you just give us a thumbs up if you've connected with us now. And Najma as well, thank you so much for joining. There's a few others, and hopefully they're not too shy and they may come on and ask some questions as we go along. But welcome. I'm really happy to have you here. And I'm just going to kind of ask you to do you want to just take a moment to introduce yourself, and then I can tell you why I thought you would make a really fantastic guest. Do you want to introduce yourself, Andy?
Well, first of all, Toni, thank you for the invitation. I'll let the audience be the judge of whether or not what I got to say is any use to them. Okay, I'm based at the South Wales Business School at the University of South Wales. I have been based there for a very long time. In about 2 years' time, it will be 30 years that I've been at the university. It doesn't really feel like that. I think somewhere in my mind, though the body ages, my mind is somewhere about 1998. So it hasn't moved on. It doesn't feel like I've been there that long, but yeah, it's a long time. So I've been at the institution for a very long time. We may talk about this in a moment, but I hadn't really planned to stay for that long. I just did. I'm originally from Belfast, so you may hear my accent changing at certain times. I'm not from South Wales. I was born in Belfast. I lived there until I was 18, then moved to Wales to university. I hadn't really intended to stay. I had always thought I'd go home.
And you've not looked back since. So that's a really great intro, Andy. So let's just say hi to a couple of people. So we've got Shamsung here, who is here, Najma. We've got Stella as well. Welcome, Stella. And Gloria, thank you for joining us, Gloria. And we've also got Melody from across the pond, who is joining us as well. So thank you so much for your presence here. If you have any questions for Andy, then please do just drop them in the chat. We may get to that. So, Andy, I'm a role model with Big Ideas Wales, and one of the things that Emma, who's part of your team, done was introduce me to an event that you had at the university a few months ago. And I came along. It was a networking event, and I came along and I'd done a little talk to the students and everything. But what kind of really grabbed me was the buzz that was around the students. They were just so excited to be there. They were happy to be there. all of your team were just so welcoming and inclusive. And I just thought it was just such a magical experience. You could feel the energy in the room. And so that's part of the reason why you're here as well. I want to find out a little bit more about the university, what, you know, why you're there for 30 years. What kind of environment is it where you would want to be there 30 years on? And how do you replicate that to others, you know, so that they can feel comfortable and join? And I also recognize that your approach was really inclusive. So I just wanted to delve a little bit deeper, and I thought, how better to do that than to do it publicly here, you know, for over 20 or 30 minutes. And just tell us a little bit about yourself, the university, anything magical or special that you're doing, any advice or tips, and that will come through as we're going on. So just have a little think about that. So Najma's saying, we know the evergreen Andrew.
Yeah, no, indeed. I don't think evergreen. I think that I have changed a little bit during that time, unfortunately, more than I might have wanted to do. Okay, so let me first of all say a little bit about why. I think it's a really good question. You know, I suppose the reasons for staying at a place, they evolve over time. So initially, you know, I stayed because I got lots of opportunities, and for an early part of my career, that was really important. You know, as I got a little bit older, then I had family, and I was very keen for my children not to be uprooted and to move from one city to another. And, you know, I know some people do that, and particularly for academic careers, it's quite common to move between institutions. It was something that my wife and I decided at quite an early stage that it wasn't something that we were going to be doing. So, you know, family matters a great deal to me, and my family having roots in a place that mattered a great deal. But, you know, the institution also matters. I wouldn't have stayed if it was a terrible place to work. And really, what I'd say is this about the university. The university for me has always been a pretty magical institution. When I joined it a very, very long time ago, it was 1995, and it was the expansion of what became known as the new universities, which happened in 1992. It was former polytechnics that were very applied institutions, became universities. My university, which is based in the South Wales Valleys, just north of Cardiff, it's expanded now, but that's where it was at the time. It was an institution whose footprint was firmly local, and it had a mission, and that mission really was about social impact. And the phrase that was used, and still used, I suppose, is widening access. And many people will recognize that phrase. It was about universities as a kind of conveyor belt for social mobility. It was about universities delivering a kind of societal impact. So I suppose in contrast to the more traditional missions of institutions, which was to prepare people for certain levels in a profession, this was part of a bigger social change.
Yeah, no, I get it. And maybe that's what I felt when I came, because that is just so evident, really. And it's something that I don't usually see when I go to universities or do these talks, you know, just the buzz and just the engagement and the inclusivity of the whole team. Honestly, it was just, they got so much out of that short time that I saw them there. And so there's something, for me, what I experienced in that hour, for you being there 30 years, and this MBA program, the global program, I just wanted to really delve deeper, and I think that you've touched on it. But before we go on, Andy, can I just say hi to Walid? Do tell us where you are joining us from as well. We would love to know. So welcome, Walid and Adidamola. Thank you for joining us as well. So thank you. And do tell us where you are joining us from, and get those questions ready. If you're at an institution or a university, what does it feel like to you? If you work there, or if you're a student, do share. Let us know, what are the qualities that make you want to, you know, join this organization as a student or as a member of staff? Because I think in this current time, Andy, that is just so important. where
it is.
people are looking at values-based organisations, this whole thing about social mobility, impact and justice. So what can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so what I'd say, Toni, is that, that was kind of the original mission of the institution. What I'd say is that the demographics are beginning to change. My university, like many others, has got many more international students sort of there. But for me, the kind of purpose remains exactly the same. My students, some of whom are in the room today, these are guys who come with dreams and aspirations for what they want to achieve in their life. They've made huge sacrifices to be here. And for me, there is a kind of moral side to this, that you have to deliver the best you possibly can.
And so it's almost like the responsibility and some accountability, really.
It is.
These people have made these sacrifices. It's acknowledging that and being committed to delivering.
It is, and I feel that every single day that we work. And I'm fortunate to have a great team of staff around me that we've built, and that team of staff, they themselves are hugely diverse. I mean, between them, they speak over 15 languages,
Wow.
which is quite incredible. Our student body is very, very diverse as well. So, we bring to the classroom and to the institution, a pretty broad range of experiences. And that means that we're constantly thinking about things in different ways. I was very conscious when we put the team together. I didn't want people who just thought the same, but what I did want them to have was a shared commitment to what we do and to doing that really well.
Right, so, and that is a very key message right there, Andy, because one of the things that I'm really sure about is when we talk about diversity in teams and things like that, lots of people just want to recruit people that agree with them, think the same as them, and actually just reinforce their view. But actually, what we want is the diverse views to enrich, and a little bit of disagreement or challenge. It's like, because actually we need to be challenging our thinking all of the time, without the problems.
I mean, we had a guest who came to speak at the university quite a long time ago, and he was based in GCHQ, was the head of HR. So that branch of the British intelligence services that deals with communications and cyber. And he said that in an institution like GCHQ, you absolutely have to have diversity, and which is why he was championing that, because you're not going to solve the most complex problems by bringing the same mindset to them. And, we do the same in universities. So I regard now this kind of change of opening up so that we have much more diverse student bodies, ethnically, nationally, whatever it may be, that, that's a real bonus for institutions. And it's a real bonus for the United Kingdom as well to have that while these students are with us.
No,
so
that's great. That's
it's really important.
I want to kind of bring in a couple of the comments that we've got from, I think as a student under Andy's tutelage, it goes beyond just coming to study. I got way beyond what I expected. Andy and the team have provided tremendous support professionally and personally. I like the word inclusiveness because that's exactly what the program is about, bringing together diverse teams and talents and culture. And I felt it. I absolutely felt it. I recognized it. The warmth was there, and the buzz of the students. They were really, really excited. It was like, what's going on? Have I missed something here? But that's exactly what it is. And we've got Gloria as well, who I think is also part of your team, isn't she? I enjoyed my time as a student at the University of South Wales. Andy made studying during the lockdown very engaging, and now a part of the workforce. I love it, and I feel very comfortable as I get lots of support. So Gloria, that's fantastic that you shared that, because you've actually got that lived experience of being a student in the same space that, so you've got so much that you can bring there as well. So I don't know what you want to say to that, Andy, from those two.
First of all, say thank you to them for making the time to be here today.
Absolutely.
I would say that one of the most important things about our programme, and it's quite common with other programmes at the University of South Wales, is that the students often themselves bring a number of years of experience of working in professional roles before they come to the UK.
Yes.
these guys are sacrificing careers to come, to take a break, to come here. They're making huge commitments. But the point that I'm making is that they already arrive with lots of experience. What we seek to do is just give them that additional lift to help make it a bit better. So, a student like Gloria, for example, already came with lots of experience of the institution. What we want Gloria to be is just to be that much stronger, more confident, more polished in what she does. It's just taking it and moving it to a different
how
level.
to join the dots, because the students that I spoke to, it was clear they were accountants, or they were, doing their things professionally in their countries before they came to study. And, it was really about, and I think that there is this perception that because you're coming through as a student, you're from another country, that actually you're starting from scratch. And that is not the case. And that's what part of your event was about. It was really about bringing your experience to the fore, bringing your passion to the fore, and really showing the person you're speaking to the value of that.
It is, and I think it's partly about overcoming. So one of the things that we do a lot is that we take the students off campus. So Toni, you came into an event that we run on campus, and we run more and more of these kinds of activities on campus. And I should say as well, Toni, that event to which you came was organised by incredible colleagues that I have that support us outside of the academic team. So they were guys that work on our student services team. Their careers, who are Emma, who you mentioned, but there's a whole bunch of others who are great. But one of the things that we do is we take the students off-site quite a lot, because it's partly about overcoming, I think, maybe in the UK, employers' perceptions that international students, they need a whole lot of additional work to get to where they need to be. What we want to do is to say, actually, these students, these were professionals before they came. They have got a lot that they can bring to your organization. So, for example, Ademola, who's in the conversation at the moment, I know he worked in a bank for about a decade before he came to the UK. So what I need to do is to introduce him to people who work in that field in the UK. So it's partly about brokering relationships and using the networks that we have to give our students that advantage. It matters a lot to us.
And sharing transferable skills and helping with that transition as well. Yeah. That's really useful. And I know that, because I know that there is a program where it helps to convert qualifications abroad into qualifications here. So that is really helpful as well. So have you got anything you want to add on that, Andy, before we kind of move on?
I suppose just to say that it's sometimes it is a question that maybe students have done professional examinations in home countries, and maybe when they come to the UK, sometimes there's a need to top up and to do UK-based professional qualifications. Sometimes those are quite specific, Toni. In other cases, most of the qualifications directly transfer. Our MBA programme takes students from quite diverse backgrounds. Some of them will be engineers. Some of them will have worked for NGOs like Najma, for example. Has worked at an NGO before she came in. So it's bringing them together, but then given that qualification, it's
and making sure that they still feel valued, which is a really important part. So before we move on to the next piece, Andy, I just want to kind of bring this to a little bit of a conclusion, in the sense of what advice would you give to a student that was looking to kind of join a particular program like this? And if you are a university, or doing any type of learning programs, what is really, really key that will make the difference for them?
Toni, I think it's quite simple. I think making absolutely the most of every single opportunity that you are presented with. So, we have got so many additional opportunities that students can take to give them that additional advantage. Lots of programs will be the same, Toni. So the guys who have joined today, they avail themselves of all of those opportunities. So make the most of the time to which you have committed here and get the very most from it.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And what would you say is your piece of advice? If you had one piece of advice to share with other universities, what would that be? Because
that's a big question, because I suppose we all learn from each other, really. What advice might I give to another institution?
Just something that you have done that might benefit them.
I think for me, it's about helping to bridge the connection between, particularly international students, who make up the majority of mine. It's about helping those students to make the connections to the community in which they're based or the cities in which they're based, to enable those students to get the best out of the time that they are here. So introduce them to businesses, make them feel connected. Sometimes that takes a lot of work. I mean, Toni, just to say, in the last term, we've run maybe 12 to 15 on-campus and off-campus activities with different businesses and employers. That's a lot of additional work to do. But the difference it makes in your students' experience, I think that's what they really are paying for on top of the program that they get.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Andy. And I just want to bring in, I know that this is Michelle Fralick from Canada, who's saying this benefit humanity as a whole, in my humble opinion. Thank you so much. And looks like another student of yours, Lakshmi. I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. The effort Andrew puts in to organise industrial visits and networking sessions for us is commendable. We're lucky to have you at USW, University South Wales, and that's really evidently clear. Anyone that comes into contact, and if there's anyone that is watching that wants to find out about the programs, I'm going to ask you to kind of share a little bit about what you actually do in the program as well, in your role as well. Andy, I absolutely agree with Gloria. Andy is a person who is not just a great mentor, but also an excellent guide. I continue to learn from him. Thank you so much. So tell us, what is this program? Give us a little overview, please.
So the program I run is the MBA Global, and MBA programs, MBA, Gloria, is a brand thing which is known globally. So everybody knows what an MBA is, or at least they've heard of it. But an MBA, think about this as a program which is it's aimed at producing graduates who have a kind of more strategic view about the way in which things are changing and about the kinds of challenges that businesses, organizations, countries face. So it's about producing a kind of strategic mindset to challenges facing societies and business. That's what all MBA programs do. I think what makes ours different is two things, really. One is that the MBA Global is a 2-year program. So the first year, students take a taught curriculum, looking at things like strategic operations, finance, the big global challenges, HR and organizational culture. So all the things that MBA programs do. In the second year, our students can go on to do a placement. So that placement can be for up to 8 months. And at the end of that period, those students also do something called a capstone project. Capstones are very common in the US. They're becoming more common in the UK. And it's kind of really, it's exactly what it is. It's the thing which caps the end of the program. In our case, these are industry set challenges or activities that students are asked to complete working in teams. We do a lot of teamwork on the MBA Global. I know not everybody's very happy with the idea about doing team-based activities, but it's the reality. So our capstone projects are set by organizations like Barclays Bank, Confused.com, which is a huge field in the marketing sphere. Also organizations like Pobble, which is Wales's biggest social housing organization. So they set the challenges on which our students work. So that's one of the things which really makes the MBA Global program different, is the fact that it's got that second year, which enables students to apply the stuff that they've learned in the classroom. The second big thing which makes it different,
which I think is really, really important, because once they're learning and being able to go out and deliver on it, you know, straight away we know how that embeds learning, reinforces learning as well, don't we? So
yeah, it is, Tony, and it's helping the students to make sometimes the transition into fields which are new to them. So a student may have done an engineering undergraduate degree, but wants to work in business, or at least wants to work at that crossroads between business and kind of government. And an MBA is a really good qualification for that. So for students like that, a placement's a really ideal opportunity to kind of test the kind of career to which they might want to move in a relatively low risk way. So that's one of the principal things that makes it really different. I suppose the second big thing that makes the MBA Global different is the emphasis that we place on sustainable business. You know, for us, you know, our students come from countries where the concerns about things like climate change are already far, far in advance of the kinds of things that we look at in the UK. I mean, at the moment, it's a nice spell of weather in the UK. In reality, we know that that's a reflection of something much bigger. But if you are based in a country where flooding is likely to become a major national impact and something which is going to affect the economy of that country, coming up with solutions to that's really important. So we are placing more and more emphasis on that sustainable business. How can they grow, but not at kind of huge social cost? So our program, you know, I think is different for those reasons. I would also say, Tony, we do loads of stuff with students, which really is very, very different. So last year, we try to put the students in positions where they're learning to develop personally as well as professionally. So that might be, for example, we had last week a really excellent guest that came in who herself was an actor, theatre director, and she ran a session for the students on basically being better at presenting yourself in public speaking. So, and a lot of that was about learning to do breathing exercises. Last year, we had an activity where we had somebody from who was a professional singer that came in to speak to students about how you learn to use your voice more effectively by basically picking up on some of the tips that singers do before they go on stage.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm going to be coming in this week to speak to, I think, 300 students about networking and business. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to that. So I really acknowledge and appreciate all of those opportunities. And so one of the things I want to ask you, Andy, is if there was, you know, and you talked about the placements, etc., you know, if there was an organisation that was based in South Wales that was thinking about it, what key information, you know, what are the kinds of game changers? What are the things that could make a difference to them deciding that actually, yes, I want to offer a student something like this?
Okay, I'd say a number of things, but one of the principal things I'd say is that you're bringing in students who bring to your organisation already a number of years of a professional experience. They bring a different mindset simply by virtue of the fact that they've worked and grown up in a different environment, and no organisation loses out by bringing in a different outlook. One of your guests earlier mentioned about this issue about humanity. And one of the kind of great things about us is that ability to learn and do things differently. My students will help you get that into your organization. So I'd say open up the door, give them the opportunity. You will not regret it.
Wow, there you go. And that's absolutely fantastic. And you know that I'm really kind of interested in things like DEIB, compassion, sustainability, you know, purpose, people, planet, and profit. That's the kind of, you know, the foundation. And so it's really pleasing to hear about the work that you're doing around sustainable development. For example, some of the leaders that I speak to on a regular basis don't really know about sustainable development, and yet you have students in your university that do understand it. So for me, that's really, really key, and that adds value in the direction that we're going to future-proof, but that adds value to the organizations that they go into as well. So just highlighting that too. So we have got a couple more comments here. We've got Bindu Kamala, who is saying, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, please. We are very lucky to have him as our global coordinator, and he's really approachable to students. It's really commendable that he makes time to give every student who needs his help a one-to-one feedback to grow. And I think that's important. And that's one of the things that I was saying recently about leaders being really accessible. You know, they don't have to be accessible all the time, but some of the time, and giving that attention, you know, knowing people's names, you know, it's really, really important. Remembering little things about individuals, how important that is to making them feel very valued. You're smiling, Andy. Have you got a story?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I it's one of the things that I do very, very quickly is try to get to know people. Even if I get the pronunciation wrong, I will get it right at some point. And yes, it matters a great deal to me to get to know my students. And Toni, like you say, it's not always going to be perfect. It won't work right every time. But I do try my best to make sure that I learn what my students want and help them to get where they need to be. So people like Bindu, you know, I've seen her over the last couple of months change. There are very few jobs where you get to see that happen. And for me, you know, nearly 30 years into her career, it still remains the thing for which I just love the most, is that ability to, you know that you will have had an impact.
Well, you're almost changing lives, aren't you?
You are, and yeah, it matters a great deal to me, actually.
Yes, I can see that. I can feel that, Andy. I can see it. I can see it. So, well, it's been an absolute insightful pleasure to have you here to give us a little bit of insight into the work that you do. So are we looking at another 30 years for you, Andy?
I think
another 30 years for you.
Artificial intelligence and a bit of science might help in that respect.
Well, there you
otherwise,
go.
That's a nice thought.
But I'm sure you've got lots more to give. You know, I could see that, you know, you were getting a little bit emotional when you were talking about, you know, the difference that it makes, and that's how we know how much it means to you. Absolutely love the work that you do, and when I come in, I can feel it myself, and I just had to get you in this hot seat. So thank you so much. We
look forward to welcoming you back.
Thank you so much, Andy. Really, really appreciate you. And if anyone wants to reach out to Andy that's watching now, I know a few of you are here. Not all of them are students, but do reach out and find out a little bit more about the programs that are available from the University of South Wales. And you have had Andy, the head of global business at South Wales Business School. And thank you so much, and commendable on the work that you are doing and the work of the university as well. To have you trapped there for 30 years, there must be something. There must be something. So
thank you, Toni.
That's great. Thank you so much. And that's it for this week. I'll be back here next week with another Critical Reflections with your critical friends, and bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me and my guest today on Critical Reflections with your critical friend. Today you got just a very, very small sprinkling of Toni's fairy dust. But if you'd like more, then do reach out for speaking or hosting. It's ToniMcLelland.com. For social impact, social justice or social mobility, check out our work at firstlifegroup.com. I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, feel encouraged, be inspired, be empowered, and make a difference. Bye for now.